is going on, everybody? I have a nice little watch list coming up for you this week. Last week, absolutely crushed it. We had that massive gap down on the daily chart. Below this 390 mark, I was really looking for a big breakdown, and we gapped down. So good thing I was swinging some for October. I ended up taking some profit at open because it looked like we were going to start trying to fill this gap up. And we still have that opportunity now. So there's still a gap up here from this 386 break to this 388. And it looks like after hours and somewhat of a pre-market or futures market is looking like 387 right now. I don't expect that to hold very much, but we have a pretty massive event coming up, and we could price in the fact that it's already a 75 basis point hike coming up. If they do a 1 basis point hike on Wednesday, then we are going to get absolutely decimated. So I have a couple levels that I'm looking at here, and I think this 380 is a really key significant level on top of this 389 level. So if we retest this and it's a 75 basis point hike, we could possibly just see some chop, maybe a little bit of bullish activity to give back some of these gains, or give up some gains to the downside that we've been in. But if anything happens bearish with Powell's talk or the housing market or jobless data, or of course the headline event this week is the Federal Reserve interest rate hike. So depending on how they hike it and the dot plot that comes out, we could see much lower than 380. So if we get some negative news below this 380, I could see a nice 372, 373 test. And this weekly chart looks really good to continue down. If you saw this nice little rip up, then we got decimated, nice rip up, decimated, got this nice rip up, now decimated. So this is a bearish engulfing pattern. I'm looking for a nice little 373, if not down to this 200 EMA test, down to this 366 in the near future. Not exactly sure how this week is going to go because there's so many news events, but I would pay attention to this gap fill up early on, maybe to this 388, and then what I'm expecting, if it's like a 75 basis point or a 1 basis point, a massive red candle more to the downside, because I don't think the blood is over just yet. So these are my levels. I have one at 388 test to retest this most recent support line. Then we have this nice 379/380 mark, and below that, I think that there's a lot of room to fall to this 373. And if we even lose that, then it looks like we're going to retest those June lows at 362.17 and lower. So I don't expect the market to completely sell off like it did in 2008, but I think there is some blood coming. And this is the daily chart, and if I zoom in on the weekly chart, you can see that things are starting to cook up a little bit for the weekly. So we could see some more blood on the downside. I don't think it's going to be a ridiculous drop like we saw in 2020, but you never know what's about to happen. So let's see what happens in the Federal Reserve. The only other thing that I'm watching other than SPY is Costco. Costco kind of looks pretty good to me on the downside here. So I'm looking at this support line at 450. It's chilling around that 500 mark, and with all the rising costs and less demand, because people are running out of money, could potentially see a nice drop here. And Costco premiums for next week to protect yourself against theta, especially by the time it gets close. I'd probably look at them around Wednesday. These 450s are 188, and in the monies are 100 or 1,200. So could be a big payout, could be a nice gamble, low risk, high reward. So I'm looking at Costco and I'm looking at SPY, and I'm assuming that this QQQQ is very similar. Looks like QQQQ could tap this 269 level this week on the weekly chart, I mean. So there's a pretty massive 200 EMA price at 280. So we could see a nice $9 down if we get a pretty bearish move for the FOMC meeting. So I'm looking a lot more downside. I think it's going to be a pretty choppy week, but those are some pretty significant levels actually on the S&P 500 is this 389, this 380, and this 373. So hope that helps out, and let's make some money this week. It's going to be pretty crazy.